This is a robbery. This was a robbery.
The question that I have for them and the question that I have for Kathy Engelbert and all of the players in the WNBA, is that really how you guys want to be represented?
This has officially gone far beyond the boundaries of normal basketball debate, ladies and gentlemen. And it is time someone pulls back the curtain on an institutional bias that is actively trying to rewrite the history of the modern WNBA. I know how deeply polarizing these conversations can get. And I know that the moment you question how awards are distributed or point out the stark analytical contrast between raw box score volume and true on-court impact, the online mob rushes in to spin a narrative. But when the dust settled on the July ballots and the league announced that Kelsey Mitchell secured the Eastern Conference Player of the Month honor, a firestorm erupted across the basketball world.
This has gone far enough, ladies and gentlemen. This has gone far enough. This is impacting Caitlin Clark's legacy. And the fans who are here for Caitlin Clark, but support Kelsey Mitchell, I want you guys to understand you are doing more harm than good.
Let us strip away the mainstream corporate spin, leave the emotional blinders at the door, and look strictly at the cold, hard film, the advanced analytics, and the transparent voting anomalies that continue to shortchange Caitlin Clark week after week. To understand the sheer scale of the controversy surrounding the July Player of the Month award, we have to look closely at what actually transpired on the court during that grueling 10-game stretch. Kelsey Mitchell had an undeniably explosive month as a scorer, leading the league with 272 cumulative points and averaging 27.2 points per game while extending her remarkable streak of 20-plus point performances.
Kelsey Mitchell has made a living off of eating off Caitlin Clark's plate, shot chucking, and going ahead and taking away from Caitlin Clark's opportunities with no remorse, with no regard for the outcome of the game. This is in Kelsey Mitchell's identity to get her buckets at the expense of the team.
Nobody in their right mind is sitting here trying to claim Mitchell isn't a phenomenal shooter or an elite veteran present. But if you stop your analysis at raw scoring volume, you are falling for the exact trap that lazy voters and narrative-driven media pundits want you to swallow. Basketball is not a solo game played in a vacuum. It is an intricate chess match of spacing, defensive gravity, playmaking vision, and how an offense functions when the opposing team throws everything they have at you in the fourth quarter. Let us look directly at the film from the Indiana Fever's high-stakes battles during that exact July stretch, such as their clash against the Minnesota Lynx, where the Fever found themselves staring down a daunting 12-point deficit late in the game. Up to that exact moment, Kelsey Mitchell had poured in 30 points, 30 individual points on the board, and yet the Fever were still down double digits with the offensive momentum completely flat and stagnant. Why? Because a high-volume scoring identity built heavily on isolation possessions and shot chucking often leaves the rest of the floor stranded. When a guard hunts their own bucket without constantly unlocking the defense through elite passing gravity, opposing coaches like Cheryl Reeves can stand on the sideline entirely unbothered. A defense will happily live with tough, contested isolation jumpers if it means the opposing team's rhythm is broken and nobody else is getting involved.
That's where you become selfish and selfie like Kelsey Mitchell. The thing is, Kelsey Mitchell don't care about the winning or losing. She just want her points. That means when Caitlin has 30, that means someone else has 20, 25, someone else has 15. Look at the point. Look at the team right now. You got 6 points right here, 9, 12, 19, and that's Caitlin Clark. 3, 2, 2. Nobody scoring but Kelsey Mitchell.
The second Caitlin Clark grabbed the game by the throat. However, the entire geometry of the floor shifted instantly. Look at what happened during those pivotal minutes down the stretch against Minnesota. Clark did not just look for her own shot, she manipulated the defense, drew multiple defenders on pick and rolls, and began carving up the Lynx's coverage with surgical precision. On one possession, she initiated the action, found Aaliyah Boston popping out to the perimeter, and sliced backdoor because the defense was forced to overcommit to her gravity. The result was an easy layup and an immediate panic-driven timeout called by Cheryl Reeves. A few moments later, Clark pushed the pace in transition, whipped a pinpoint pass to the corner, and then zipped another dime backdoor to Mitchell for another layup, bringing her total to 32 points. Right after that, on an after-timeout play, Clark delivered another crisp dime that Mitchell converted into a three-pointer. In less than 2 minutes of game time, Clark single-handedly dragged the Fever from down 12 points to a tight one-possession game, proving yet again that her true value lies in how she unlocks every single player around her.
To watch the circus that was the WNBA All-Star Game. I've said this a few times. Caitlin Clark she tried to give the fans what they paid for. Marina Mabrey, she tried to give the fans what they paid for.
Yet, when the voting ballots for July's Player of the Month were tallied, Caitlin Clark's historic month was completely bypassed in favor of her backcourt teammate. Let us examine what Clark actually achieved during that exact same time frame. Throughout July, Clark put up monumental performances, highlighted by an astonishing 45-point double-double against the Seattle Storm, making history as the first player in WNBA history to drop 40-plus points and 10-plus assists in a single game. She followed that masterclass up with stellar stat lines featuring 27 points and 11 assists, alongside a scintillating triple-double performance that showcased her unmatched all-around dominance in scoring, rebounding, and playmaking. She even captured consecutive Player of the Week honors during this period, carrying the heaviest offensive workload in the league while facing completely different defensive schemes from Seattle, Portland, and Minnesota.
It is one thing to inject politics into your sport where they don't belong, like Colin Kaepernick kneeling in the middle of professional football games.
When you compare the total value provided on the floor, the decision to award Player of the Month to anyone other than Clark sparks fierce debate among analytical purists. Clark's assist numbers, her rebounding pressure, her defensive disruption, and her historical efficiency running the entire point guard position created an offensive engine that routinely set franchise records. But because traditional voters rely heavily on surface-level scoring tallies and prefer to spread accolades across different narratives, historic all-around months get overshadowed by pure volume scoring. Look no further than the official social media channels of the franchise itself during these award cycles. When Caitlin Clark wins Player of the Week or achieves monumental milestones, the announcements are frequently dry, minimalist graphics featuring basic stats with minimal fanfare. But when the narrative shifts toward other players, the production goes into overdrive with celebratory hype, emotional quotes, and all-praise commentary from coaching staff members who look entirely different in front of the camera.
The question that I have for them and the question that I have for Kathy Engelbert and all of the players in the WNBA, is that really how you guys want to be represented? Is that 3.2 million people tuned in and that's what they saw? An absolute disaster of a game? Now I see a lot of celebrations at 3.2. You want to know why it was up so much compared to last year? Because a certain 22 was out.
The psychological contrast on the bench tells the exact same story that fans have been whispering about in group chats for months. When Clark earns her accolades, the reactions from certain staff members often look muted, almost reluctant, as if acknowledging her unprecedented dominance comes with an unspoken internal sigh. But when the focus shifts elsewhere, the celebration is instantaneous and unrestrained. It is an open secret within the basketball community that certain old-school circles are uncomfortable with how fast Caitlin Clark has rewritten the league's record books and captured global attention. Instead of fully rewarding the player who literally makes everyone on her roster better, turning Aaliyah Boston into an interior powerhouse, freeing up Kelsey Mitchell for catch-and-shoot looks, and elevating the entire team's ceiling, the voting establishment continues to play politics with trophies that directly impact player legacies and historic standing. This trend goes far beyond a simple disagreement over statistics. It speaks to a broader institutional resistance to change within the sport. Women's basketball has exploded onto the global stage, attracting millions of new fans who expect transparency, analytical rigor, and objective journalism from sports voters. Handing out major monthly awards while ignoring comprehensive film breakdowns, true floor impact, and efficiency metrics damages the credibility of the voting body.
The Indiana Fever and Stephanie White, after she shit on the fans yesterday. You know, by the way, in politics, sometimes it can help just to be likable. Stephanie White's not very likable. That's part of her problem, is she does not come across as very likable. And yeah, Stephanie White, the consumers, you do have to answer to them because they can turn the TV off and they quit buying tickets. Again, Indiana has had more empty seats. Shockingly, there were empty seats during a game against Angel.
A player orchestrating a high-powered offense with elite scoring, double-digit assists, and relentless rebounding week after week should unequivocally hold the standard for MVP and Player of the Month honor. When the voters choose to look the other way simply to fit a pre-written narrative, they aren't just shortchanging Caitlin Clark, they are actively tampering with the history of the sport. As the season barrels toward its final stretch and the playoff race intensifies, these voting discrepancies will only face greater scrutiny from fans who watch the film and know the truth. The numbers don't lie, the tape doesn't forget, and the global audience sees right through the institutional bias. Caitlin Clark's legacy isn't built on a monthly plaque handed out by reluctant voters. It's built on historical records, night in and night out dominance, and a style of play that has permanently elevated the game of basketball. When all is said and done, the trophies in the display case will tell one story, but the fans who watched every single possession know the absolute truth. The debate is settled, the impact is undeniable, and no amount of voting snubs can ever erase what is unfolding on the court.